All right, let's get to it. So we all heard about the term arrested development, right? And it's really a term that was originally used to describe kids, a child who stopped processing emotionally at a certain age because something interrupted the process, whether that's trauma, neglect, an environment that stopped demanding growth from them. That's why some of us so messed up today. We're always dealing with grown adolescents, right? But the things that most people get that the thing most people misunderstand, they think it stops at like when you're 18 or anything like that. But actually, this is a program that runs for your whole life. And it also runs with your training as well. So when it comes to growth, whether it's physical or physiological or psychological, part of me, it isn't automatic. And that's a misconception we have too as well. You know, we think because we're a year older, we're getting we're growing, and that's totally the opposite, right? Growth happens when you put demand on yourself. that's that's the only way it we evolve or grow in that sense. Similar like you're working out, your body doesn't grow because you have adapted to that kind of weight. And a lot of people are like that psychologically as well. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that you have to really consider. All right. And what stops the demand is when we stop asking questions. I think that's why it comes the saying goes, well, not the saying really, it's scripture where it says, come as a little child. You know what I mean? Because children have that curious nature, and they always want to know why. And I think once we silence that growth goes the opposite direction, and it doesn't happen gradually. Sometimes it happens immediately, and you can feel it if you are aware about that. You know what I'm saying? So if you think about the person, for example, who was like the athlete in high school, and then after that he stops working out, he tapped out. That's his reservoir. That's his peak right there, because he has not put any demand on his body since 17 or when he was in high school. So now he's arrested his development, so to speak. See the connection? All right. So, like I said before, with demand of growing, you see it in the gym. You probably do it too. I have clients like that. They want to do 15 reps, knowing they mastered it with example like 30 pounds. And I'm like, you got to go up. Now I'm comfortable right here. I can do 15 because they don't want to go through that threshold of that pain. Because that's what requires with growth. It's an uncomfortable feeling, and there's pain that attached to it. And us being who we are, we want to take the path of least resistance always. That's why nobody really want to work like that. You know what I mean? So comfort is becoming the new goal instead of the byproduct. You know, and surely struggle is ordained. That's how we grow. You know what I mean? So this is why we have progressive overload when it comes to training, because it's putting a new demand on you in order to grow. You see what I'm saying? And your body will adapt. That's that's the arrested development there, when your body is adapting. So you have to continue to keep pushing. As I think about it, if you watch Man of Steel, I think it was a dope movie, by the way, by Zack Snyder. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's okay, because then I realized my expectation was too high. But then when I suspended my expectation and really watched it, I was like, oh, this is a very good movie. But there's a part where Kal-El, Superman, Clark, when he was by the Fortress of Solitude, when he was getting acquainted with his powers, and you hear his father talking to him, who was played by Russell Crowe, when he said that you have to keep pushing to your limits, Cal, because your is boundless, right? And you see him trying to fly, he's falling and he's hurting, like that shit really hurt, like you falling from that height, and you hit the ground, that hurts, no matter, even for Superman. But then once he got it, he got it. You know what I'm saying? So we're the same way as well. But now, when it comes to arrested development, we always think that it's a physical thing. It's really an identity thing when you really get to the crux of it. Um, some people are operating off of self images that they had 10, 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And that identity, what tends to happen, it would end up calcifying because you thinking that's who you are. So you're making today's decision based on who you were 10, 15 years ago. And then you wonder why you're not as successful or successful as you should be, because you're still operating from that identity and you think that's who you are, instead of reinventing yourself and pushing past that comfort zone in order to grow to be the best version of yourself. All right. So you got to let go of that. So this is, I'm always going to shout out my trainers and coaches, because I'm a trainer first, always. As I mentioned before about clients, it's our jobs not just to show sets and reps, it's for them to tap in to that reservoir that they don't know about themselves. Like I said, I have clients who just wants to do lightweight, and I'm pretty sure y'all hear this. Oh, to build muscle, you can do lightweight, which is always relative, with high reps. Yes, that's one formula, but it's about the stress. I heard Michael Hearn said this, and I agree with him. He said, would you rather lift 100 pounds one time or lift 10 pounds 100 times? I would do the aforementioned. I rather lift 100 pounds one time, because it's the growth and the stress that you're putting on your body, that demand. All right. And that frees you instead of arrests you, like that, right? So it's the same thing with the progressive overload when you're dealing with your clients. Of course, you're not going to be aggressive with it. You want to be intentional, but intelligent as well when training your clients and going through the motions with them, and really getting them comfortable with being uncomfortable in order to progress them to the next phase of their training development. All right. Because sometimes too, and I always say this too, working out is an expression. So how they're moving the weight, I can tell what type of person they are. It's just how it is. Sometimes they're moving it too fast. I'm like, you got to slow down, really contract and do what you're supposed to do, really feel yourself throughout the movement. So these are certain things that you have to be aware of, cognizant of as a personal trainer as well. Because like I said, we're more than that. That's why I think we're underpaid as well too, because we got to be a therapist, entertainer, all kind of stuff. We have to wear many hats dealing with different clients. And that sometimes it can be a little draining. So you have to make sure you have your senzu bean. Oh, shit, I'm wearing a Goku shirt too. Senzu bean Goku. I didn't even catch that. But you get my drift, right? So as always, I always give you guys a way out. So, and rest of develop when you have this awareness with certain things, it's not permanent. It brings you awareness, so then you can change. You can make the decision to change. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to be that same person. As long as we're alive, we can change for the better, right? But you have to have that awareness, and you have to admit that you need help. Like, wait, I need to change. That's why in AA, don't ask me how I know. They always say you have to admit that you're an alcoholic. You have to admit that you have this problem in order to change. So it's nothing bad per se. It's just an awareness, and you start to change. And you don't have to do a complete overhaul or think that it has to happen overnight. You didn't get that way in your condition or that state of mind overnight. It takes some time, but brick by brick, just change your habits. One micro habit, one change, but it all starts with your mentality first. So when you're trying to go up in weight, instead of going up 10 pounds, try 5 or 2.5. But you want to send that type of demand as well. If it's in your interpersonal life, that uncomfortable conversation. Because half the time, too, the thing that we fear the most is really the fear of that we're putting onto ourselves. Half the times I have certain conversations, I'm like, oh, that shit wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Oh, man, damn, it didn't go the way I thought, I expected. So one way to do it is to suspend expectation as well. And, and start asking more of yourself too, but be patient with yourself as well. Because that's one of the challenges that I have with clients as well. You know what I mean? Telling them, do XYZ, this will happen. But they want to do it like, I don't see anything in 2 weeks. I'm like, you just started. You didn't get the weight that you are in 2 weeks. It took some time, right? So, yeah, but growth is a continuous thing. So don't stop. Until long as you're alive, keep growing, keep getting better, right? And free yourself from that development and become the best version of yourself. All right. So if you caught yourself running the same program or the same story about yourself for way too long, you know what I mean? Tell me in the comments. I love to hear what you guys have to say and how you plan to overcome it. Or if you was a state where it was in a state of arrested development, how did you overcome it? Because I'm pretty sure someone could learn from your story as well. All right. So this is Alchemy Fitness signing off, where we transmute from lead to gold. Train hard, train smart, and train safe. Till next time. Peace.